It was supposed to be a night to remember. Our anniversary dinner, just the two of us. We'd been married for 5 years, and like any couple, we had our ups and downs. But tonight felt different. The ambiance was perfect, the food was delicious, and for once, there were no distractions. I looked at her across the table, my wife, Emily. She had always been stunning, her beauty, her smile. It was everything that made me fall in love with her. I thought, maybe tonight, things could go back to the way they used to be. But little did I know, things were about to take an unexpected turn. After the meal, we went home. I was still basking in the glow of a good evening, thinking about how I could make our relationship better. Emily went to the bedroom to change. I followed, wanting to help clean up. But as soon as I stepped inside, I saw her getting dressed, no longer in the mood to relax. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice calm, but something about the way she was acting put me on edge. Emily didn't even look at me. She zipped up her dress and turned to face me. "I had my time with you. Now, I'm going to have some pleasure for myself." Her words stung more than I expected. There was no warmth in them, no affection, just coldness. "You're not going anywhere," I said, the protective instinct kicking in. She scoffed, "Try to stop me. If you touch me, I'll call the police." I was frozen for a moment, unsure of what I had just heard. Emily had never spoken to me like that before. She grabbed her purse and slammed the door behind her. I stood there, watching the door close, my heart racing. The next morning, my phone buzzed incessantly. 140 missed calls. I couldn't process it. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The ringing of my phone felt like a drumbeat echoing through my brain. 140 missed calls. My first thought was that something had happened to her. I quickly scrolled through the missed calls, hoping it was just an emergency. Maybe she'd gotten into a fight with someone. But what I found was far more disturbing than I ever could have imagined. The calls weren't from Emily. They were from random numbers, some local, others from out of state. My mind raced as I opened my text messages. Each one was more frantic than the last. They were all from friends, family, and colleagues, all asking the same thing. "Is Emily okay? We heard she's been seeing someone else." I felt the blood drain from my face. Was this some kind of cruel joke? But as I read through more texts, I began to see the horrifying truth unfold. One message stood out. "I know what happened last night. You need to prepare yourself for what's coming." I dialed Emily's number, and it rang and rang before going to voicemail. Panic set in. What had she done? Where was she? Why hadn't she answered? Suddenly, my phone lit up again. This time, it was an email I never expected to see. The subject line read, "The baby's not yours." I opened it, my hands shaking. It was a message from one of her colleagues at work. Apparently, Emily had been having an affair with her boss for the past 6 months. The email was even more damning. It included a hospital photo of Emily holding a baby that wasn't mine. My heart skipped a beat as I stared at the picture, the weight of the betrayal crashing down on me. As if things weren't bad enough, the message continued. "She wants you to accept the baby as your own, but you deserve to know the truth before you make any decisions." The truth? I could barely comprehend what I was reading. Emily had gone so far as to carry another man's child, and now wanted me to accept it. The sense of betrayal was suffocating. Before I could process this shocking revelation, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Emily. "Meet me. I need to explain everything." but I had no intention of meeting her on her terms, not after everything I had just learned. The text from Emily lingered on my screen, her demand to meet, but my mind was racing, and I was beyond furious. I wasn't going to meet her like some kind of fool, willing to let her lie to my face again. Number I needed answers, and I needed them now. I went straight to her office. It was the middle of the day, so she would be there. The anger that had been simmering inside me had finally reached its boiling point. I needed to confront her. I had to see her eyes when I asked the question that had been eating away at me since I read that email. When I arrived at her office, the receptionist gave me an uneasy glance, as though she knew something I didn't. "Mr. Thompson, she's not in right now," she said. "She left earlier today." The panic set in. She hadn't even come to work? Was she avoiding me? What was she doing? I rushed to my car, desperate to find her. My phone was buzzing again with more missed calls, but I couldn't focus on those now. All I could think about was Emily, her lies, and the baby. I needed to hear the truth from her. When I got home, I found her there, pacing back and forth. She looked like she hadn't slept, her eyes red and swollen. The moment she saw me, she froze. "Emily." My voice was cold, distant, the hurt unbearable. What the hell is going on? Who's the father of that baby? She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. It was as if she was struggling to find a way to spin her lies, to make this all seem like it wasn't her fault. Then she finally spoke, her voice trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen. I never planned for this." Her voice cracked, but she continued. "It was him, my boss. I couldn't help it. It just happened." I stood there, shocked, my heart sinking with every word she spoke. The truth was worse than I could have imagined. My wife, the woman I had built my life with, had not only betrayed me emotionally, but had carried another man's child. And now she wanted me to just accept it. To accept a child that wasn't mine, with no regard for what this would do to me. "Are you asking me to accept this baby?" I spat, my voice filled with disbelief and anger. She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "I don't know what to do. I thought you would understand. It's not his fault either. He wanted to be with me. And now the baby is here, and I just need you to be there for me." I couldn't believe my ears. She was asking me to be a father to a child that wasn't mine. My blood boiled, but I tried to remain calm, not wanting to do anything rash in the moment. I needed to think, but deep down, I knew I couldn't stay with her. "Not after this, Emily," I said slowly, my tone cutting through the silence. "I don't think I can do this anymore. You've crossed a line I can't come back from." The weight of what Emily had just admitted to felt like a crushing blow. Her words echoed in my mind as I stood there, frozen, trying to process everything. I had known there were issues in our marriage, but this was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. She had not only cheated on me with her boss, but now she wanted me to accept the product of that affair, a child that wasn't mine, a constant reminder of the betrayal. I tried to push down the rising anger, but it was impossible. It felt like my whole world was collapsing around me, and I was powerless to stop it. "I can't believe you're asking me to do this," I said, my voice barely a whisper, thick with pain. "This is more than just a mistake, Emily. You've destroyed everything we had." Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped closer, but I stepped back, not wanting to be near her. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just didn't know how to fix it. Please, don't leave me." But it was too late. I had already made up my mind. I was done. I wasn't going to play the role of the fool any longer. "I need to think," I said, turning toward the door. "I need some space." I left the house and drove aimlessly, the streets blurring as I fought to keep control of my emotions. My phone was still buzzing with missed calls, but I didn't care. Not anymore. I had made my decision. I was done with Emily. But what hurt more than anything was how easily she had lied, how easily she had discarded everything we had built for a fleeting affair. But as I drove, I knew that simply walking away wasn't enough. I wanted justice. I wanted her to feel the pain that she had caused me, and I would make sure of it. The thought of revenge swirled in my mind. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I had the power to take control of this situation. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The shock of everything I had just learned had left me with a burning desire to do something, anything, to make her understand the depth of the betrayal. I went home that night, the house quiet and empty. But it wouldn't be for long. I had a plan forming in my mind, and Emily wasn't going to know what hit her. As I sat alone in the quiet of our home, my mind raced. The decisions I had to make were weighing heavy on me. I was hurt, angry, and confused. But amidst all that turmoil, there was clarity. I wasn't just going to walk away from Emily and let her carry on with her life as if nothing happened. No, she needed to understand the gravity of what she had done. She needed to feel the consequences of her actions. For the first time in years, I felt powerful, like I had control over the situation. The anger that had boiled inside me was now transforming into a cold, calculated determination. I wasn't going to lash out blindly. Instead, I was going to make sure she knew that betrayal like hers wouldn't go unpunished. The plan started to form in my mind. Emily had betrayed me in the worst way possible, emotionally, physically, and now she was trying to make me accept the child of that betrayal. There was no way in hell I was going to let that happen. I had always been the quiet type, the kind of person who kept his emotions in check and handled things without drama. But this was different. I wasn't going to just quietly accept her new reality. No, I was going to hit her where it hurt the most, where she thought I would never go. The first step in my plan was to gather the evidence. That email I had received, the one that proved the affair, was just the beginning. Emily thought she could cover her tracks, but she had left a trail, and I was going to follow it. I spent hours going through old emails, texts, and even her social media. Every little piece of the puzzle was coming together. Then I reached out to some of the people Emily had been in contact with. The network of people who knew the truth. People from her office who had witnessed the affair, friends who had seen her with her boss in public. Slowly, the walls she had built around her lies began to crumble. One by one, they all began to confirm what I already suspected. But there was one thing Emily hadn't counted on. Me using my knowledge. She had underestimated me, thinking that I would be too heartbroken to take action. She thought I would just forgive her and move on with the charade. But she was wrong. The next step was a little more personal, something that would ensure she felt the weight of the consequences. I had learned that Emily's boss, the man who had ruined everything, was planning to take the baby and move in with her. He had every intention of raising it as his own. That's when it hit me. If Emily thought she could just erase our entire life together and move on with her affair, then I needed to make sure she understood what true loss felt like. I walked into the living room and stared at the empty space we had shared for so long. Our life together, the memories, the laughs, The quiet moments, gone, shattered. And now it was my turn to break the final piece of the illusion she had built. The phone call I was about to make would be the first step in tearing her world apart. The following morning, as the sun began to rise, I could already feel the weight of my plan pushing me toward something irreversible. The quiet house seemed to mock me, as if the walls knew the storm that was brewing just beneath the surface. I had taken the first steps, gathering the evidence, but now it was time to act. Emily had no idea what was coming. She thought she was in control, that she had already woven the perfect web of lies around me, but I was about to tear it apart. The truth would come out, and she wouldn't be able to hide from it anymore. I had already made a few phone calls the night before, one to her boss, and another to her close friend, someone I knew had been in the know about the affair. It wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was about exposing everything she had tried to cover up. That afternoon, Emily arrived home, her face weary from what seemed like a sleepless night. She tried to act casual, but I could see the tension in her every move. She knew something was off, and I wasn't going to waste any more time pretending everything was okay. The game was over. "Where's the baby?" I asked, keeping my tone calm but cold, the words hanging in the air like a ticking time bomb. I had already made sure that the paternity test results were ready, results that would expose her lies in front of everyone. But this was about to get a lot messier. She froze, her eyes widening, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic cross her face. "What do you mean?" she stammered. "The baby, Emily, the one that's not mine, the one that came from your affair. Where is it?" I repeated, my voice growing darker. The anger that had simmered inside me now surged forward like a tidal wave, but I was keeping control. I couldn't afford to lose it just yet. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She couldn't speak. The silence between us grew thicker, and in that moment I realized how far gone she was. She had no excuse left, no way to deny the truth that had been coming for so long. I thought we could work through this, that we could fix it, she finally whispered, her voice shaking. "I didn't want you to find out this way." "Fix it?" I repeated, shaking my head in disbelief. "There's no fixing this, Emily. You can't undo what you've done. You can't erase the lies and the betrayal." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the envelope I had been carrying with me. The paternity test results. I slid it across the table to her, the paper trembling as it landed in front of her. "Read it, Emily. This is the truth, and there's no running from it." She picked up the envelope with shaky hands, the reality sinking in with each passing second. Her eyes scanned the paper, and when she saw what it said, the blood drained from her face. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "This can't be real." "I guess you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy everything we had," I said, standing up and walking away from her. I couldn't be in the same room with her anymore. Not after everything. "I don't know what to say," she stammered, but I didn't want to hear it anymore. The time for words was over. "I'm done," I said coldly, turning away. "You've made your choice, Emily. Now you'll have to live with the consequences." I walked out of the room without looking back. I could hear her voice shaking as she called out my name, but I didn't respond. The damage had been done, and there was no going back. Emily was on the verge of losing everything, and there was no sympathy left in me. The thought of how she had trampled over our lives, the life we had built together, was enough to harden my resolve. I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. She'd been so convinced that she could have it all, that she could betray me without facing the repercussions. But now, she was about to learn that actions have consequences. I sat in the living room, the silence in the house almost suffocating, and took a deep breath. I was feeling the weight of it all, the pain, the betrayal, the anger. But there was something else now, the satisfaction that came from taking control of my own destiny. I wasn't going to let Emily dictate my life anymore. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. As I sat there, the phone rang. I looked at the screen. Another number I didn't recognize. It didn't matter. I knew who it was. I answered, my voice low and steady. "Is everything all right?" I asked. I could tell by the tone of the voice on the other end that they were aware of what had just happened. The call was from Emily's boss, the man who had played such a pivotal role in tearing apart my marriage. The man who had thought he could walk away with everything, thinking I would just accept his affair as if it were nothing. "Look," the voice on the other end said, "I think we should talk. There's a lot you don't know." "No." I cut him off, the anger building again. "You don't get to talk to me anymore. You don't get to explain anything. What you've done is unforgivable, and now you're going to pay for it." The line went silent for a moment. I could feel the weight of my words hanging in the air, and for the first time in this whole ordeal, I felt like I had the upper hand. I wasn't going to let this man get away with it. "Don't contact me again," I said firmly, ending the call before he could respond. The feeling of power was intoxicating, but it wasn't enough. Emily's betrayal wasn't something I could simply wash away. It would linger in the background of my mind for a long time, but I had to move forward. The next day, I began putting the wheels of my plan into motion. I reached out to my lawyer. There were papers to sign, steps to take. I needed to ensure that everything was handled legally, safeguarding my future, my peace of mind. I couldn't allow Emily to take anything from me, not after what she'd done. Meanwhile, Emily was spiraling. I could feel the tension in the air when she came to speak with me. Her eyes swollen from crying, but she wasn't going to get sympathy from me. Not anymore. "Please, I'm begging you," she cried, standing in front of me, her face pale. "I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose everything. I'll make it right. I'll do anything." Her words didn't have the same power over me they once did. The damage had been done, and now it was time for her to face the consequences. "Everything's already gone," I said coldly. "You've made your choices, Emily. Now I'm going to make mine." It was the day after Emily's desperate plea, and the air in the house had become thick with an unsettling stillness. Everything felt so final. I hadn't just lost the woman I loved. I had lost the future we had planned together. But I wasn't going to dwell on it. I had no choice but to move forward, and that meant doing what I had to do to protect myself, my peace, and my future. The first step was the divorce papers. My lawyer had everything in order. Emily had tried to argue, tried to bargain, but there was no compromising. She had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. She didn't deserve a second chance. As the lawyer explained the terms to Emily, I sat in the living room, feeling detached, almost numb to the situation. She looked at me with a mixture of anger, disbelief, and desperation, pleading with me to change my mind, to give her another chance. But I had already made up my mind. I couldn't go back. I'd also made arrangements to take what was mine. The money, the house, It was all protected. I wasn't going to let her walk away with a single cent. The affair had cost her more than she could have ever imagined. Not only had she lost me, but now she was about to lose her financial security too. A few days later, the final day of the divorce hearing arrived. The courtroom felt like a cold, sterile place, a sharp contrast to the warm memories I had once shared with Emily. But now, it was just a place of finality. I watched as Emily's face grew pale when the judge revealed the shocking turn of events, her affair, the baby, and the calculated way she had planned everything. The truth came out, and there was no way to deny it. The courtroom fell silent as the judge's words sunk in. Emily's face twisted with regret, but it was too late. There was no going back. As the judge ruled in my favor, I felt a sense of closure that I hadn't expected. The weight of the betrayal had lifted. After the hearing, I walked out of the courtroom, free from the life that had once bound me to Emily. The life I was about to rebuild was one where I was in control. I would never let someone manipulate me again. In the months that followed, I took time to focus on myself, my career, my hobbies, my health. I found new ways to enjoy life without the constant stress and deceit of my past. I even reconnected with old friends, people I had pushed aside when I was so caught up in Emily's web. But most importantly, I learned to trust again, not just in others, but in myself. Emily, on the other hand, faced the consequences of her actions. She had lost not just me, but her place in the life we had once shared. The affair, the lies, and the baby had ruined everything. I had given her the chance to fix it, but she chose to tear everything apart instead. As for me, I moved forward with my head held high. I had faced the truth, confronted the betrayal, and come out the other side stronger than before. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and that was enough.